Hi there, thanks for joining. We'll get started in just a second. Just waiting for some people to join and making some camera adjustments. Going to be planting some fresh rose snippings. Mind the roofing hammer nail gun in the background. I just released episode 4 of my that I'm doing this planting season, this growing season. In that video, I show myself pruning our rose bush, and I'm just going to be planting them. And I researched whether or not we would need root hormone. Exactly what it is, and if I would have any any household products or food byproduct that I could use successfully. And first, I saw a video that talked about a bunch of different things that made me happy to think. Well, I have that aspirin and so many things. Remember now, cinnamon. These different natural items that people use, aloe vera gel. But then I kept researching, and there's no scientific credibility for any of these claims. So I'm just gonna. I've actually done it last year with weeping willow stems, and it rooted just fine in just potting mix soil. So I have a mix here that is a combination of garden soil, just regular garden soil that I've been amending over the last couple of years that we've been living on the property here. So it's about a third of that, a third of store-bought hydro potting soil, which is mostly peat moss to retain moisture, water. And then another third is a fresh organic compost mix that, organic compost soil that I pulled from the pile. So 3 parts, it's pretty simple, nothing crazy, nothing expensive. So I have to get bigger pruners for this one. So I'll be right back. So I show these pruners in my, and I talk about how they're one of the best investments that I've made for gardening. So you always want to cut on an angle when you're pruning, so the water runs off and doesn't, I guess it'll create mold. But yeah, these were a great investment. I got them for, I don't know, $20 Canadian or something. I think Home Depot, and they're so heavy duty. Like, I like them because you could with one size snipper, you don't need 2 or 3 sizes. One size, you could snip trees that are like branches or small trees. You could cut that. That's about, I don't know, 1.5 inches jaw opening. So from that kind of diameter all the way to small branches like this. So I'm just snipping these down. Since there's no, and you want to get a clean cut as well. You want to do it, your cuts quick, so you're not like ripping the branch. In case you don't know, when you so I guess we have more people by now. I'll just say again, thanks for joining. Appreciate it, and let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm following the chat on my phone here. Or anything you'd like to add, anything I missed. Some people might not be able to see the chat though, so I'll try to keep my eye on it and read out whatever's there, people watching from TV. So when you're pruning rows, you always want to make sure you collect all the clippings from under the rose bush, because they will, the more abrasions there are, the more exposed, the more the inside of the branches are exposed, the more it'll attract pests. So when you like the shape, I don't know if I like this yet. I think I'll do a little bit more on here. Generally, if there's buds like other smaller branches that I'm going to be doing, I won't have to be pruning. It was really just the thick one here. They have already some buds. So generally, whichever you want to always prune right after the bud that you want to keep, and a stem will grow from that bud. So if you're pruning your I talked about this in my episode 4, but if you're pruning a branch that is coming out at you, if you're pruning the branch coming out at you with a bud going in, your plant is going to fill up on the side. Pretty cool. Pretty interesting stuff that I just learned last week when I was getting ready to prune the row. Packing the soil and then giving it a water. So with cuttings, I like to add a little bit more soil. It will sink a little bit if you're putting in fresh, if you're just freshly scooping in the soil. So keep that in mind, and then you could always top up a little bit as well as it drops, which is suggested. Otherwise, your cutting might flop over or just not be happy, because whatever was covered, was under soil before, is now exposed. Sometimes you can't really see the little roots that are there, but that will slow the growth, stunt the growth. I don't know if there's holes in this pot yet. I like tall pots for cuttings or containers. So the thinner, generally the thinner the better, because you want to go tall. You want to promote as much root growth as possible. So I know, like willows, for example, I learned like a 15-foot branch or what would you call it? Like cutting or branch from a willow. Something like a half of it needs to be buried underground. So you want to promote, you want to keep as much. You also cut off the thorns and any buds that are there. Make it easier for roots to pop out, to form, to spread out of the bark, if you will, of the branches. But I'm going to be trying that anyway. Here's just a little idea that I thought of last year. I used for some willow cuttings. You can just like tape, but because I have clear bottles in here, I don't prefer to use, so that's why I have it in the black container. And it's cool because the black container absorbs heat. So ideally, like a not transparent, like white or brown, beige, gray container is my preference. Black absorbs heat, will dry out pots more, but because there's a lot of air flow, air pockets, it allows the pot to kind of stay cool. What I wanted to show is like tall. If you have maximize your root growth space, I cut them at about a half because I used both ends when I made this one. But better yet, better than this, and to use less soil, is the water bottle containers, which I also use. So I did one of water bottle containers. This one is a bit higher, but these containers, I think they are taller than the pop containers, but they are a lot more narrow, so you don't use a lot of soil. You don't need a lot of soil to get started, to get to going to root or not. After maybe a month or two, if I can tell clearly, like the ones that are catching will have healthy leaves. Completely transfer water that to help us keep an eye on how much water plants recently had. So these, if I keep them in these pots, that will go in a 10 by 20 tray, and I'll still be able to see because these got holes under them. All right, so let's carry on with our planting. Let me just see if anyone has any here.